introduction. I want to thank Ilan Mazer for inviting me to participate in this most extraordinary tribute just earlier today. It was very hard for me to accept because we have a rabbinic principle, Emin Achmin, Bisha Shemesa Muto Lefanecha, which we normally understand is a concept of aninus. Before the kavura, there's no nechama. But I personally am overwhelmed with shock and despair at the passing of Rabbi Sachs. I knew that he was ill. I had no idea he was that ill. And I was totally taken aback. I just simply could not believe that he is no longer with us. I think all of us know, and Rabbi Grauer and Ilan Mazer earlier made reference to the larger-than-life space that Rabbi Sachs occupied. His contributions to the general world, to human civilization, to the Jewish world, somewhere around 30 books, general and Jewish. The Haggadah, the Siddur. I don't know how many of you know that there's a Chumash coming out shortly with his Perush, with his commentary on the Chumash, also by Koren. Several Parsha series, his countless articles, his speeches, the eloquence. He was a philosopher, a theologian. He was a public intellectual of the highest order. And from what I understand, the rest of the program will be other participants will be sharing some thoughts and also some YouTubes, as we saw just a moment ago, to remind us of the intensity of the loss that we have sustained. I would like to focus in two directions. First of all, personal. I had a very close relationship with Rabbi Sachs. We weren't really friends, but we had a close relationship. He was in our house when I was a rabbi in Manhattan. My wife Yocheved and I hosted him at the Jewish Center. We hosted him in Brookline, Massachusetts. We hosted him in our home in Teaneck, New Jersey, him and Lady Elaine. I was in his home in St. John's Wood in London. We shared the platform on many occasions. And I feel a profound, deep sense of loss, not just on behalf of Klal Yisrael, but also personally. It's just incomprehensible to me to be able to believe that we will not be speaking to one another again. What I want to do is extrapolate from his life messages that are relevant to each of us. You know, it's one thing to say he was so amazing, that he was incredible, that he was so gifted, but what does it have to do with me? So what's my takeaway from that? Last I checked, I'm not so gifted, I'm not so incredible, I'm not so articulate, I'm not so well-spoken, I'm not so brilliant. Okay, chaval al da'avdin. So I'm sorry that he's not here anymore. But I thought long and hard today, after I decided to accept Ilan's invitation, to try to extrapolate from his life. So what's nogea to me? How is this going to affect my life? And I have a few thoughts that I want to share with you that speak to me, and I hope through me to you. Number one, Rabbi Sachs's life teaches us that one person can make a real difference. And I would like us to stop for a moment and to really think about this. Because most of us think that we do not and cannot make a real difference. You know, we're just this, we're just that, not so famous, I'm not a big communal leader. I don't really think I could make a big difference. Chazal tell us that Rabbi is Mechayev the Ashirim and Hillel is Mechayev the Aniyim. One person can make a profound difference. And and I really want to think about this, each one of us in our own lives. Mamish, I'm talking to each one of us. I just looking now, there are 445 boxes that are open on this Zoom call, which means there are probably 700 people. Each one of us often are confronted with a situation, and our general default is, what can I do? And the answer is, you can do something. I'm not talking about getting on CNN, and I'm not talking about talking to the Queen of England. I'm talking about each one in our own lives. We could make a difference. Rabbi Sachs made a difference. He made a difference in his way. The power of one person to make a difference. And I would hope that that is something that we can internalize very profoundly. Number two, Rabbi Sachs was a mavakesh. Rabbi Sachs, his whole life was a mavakesh. He was born into a relatively non-observant home, certainly an unlearned home, Jewishly, and I think even general. And he clawed his way, he came to Cambridge University, he decided he was going to be a philosopher. And he was not so interested in Jewish affairs and in Jewish texts and in Jewish knowledge, but he recognized that something was missing. And in his early 20s, maybe he was 20, maybe he was 21, he came to the United States. He made a special trip to the United States. And he came to the United States in particular to see two people. He wanted to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he wanted to see Dr. Norman Lamb. And he made appointments with them, and he went to see them. And that changed his life. And what changed his life was an encounter with people who inspired him to look beyond where he was. And this is a characteristic that he had with him his whole life. He was extremely curious. When he came to our house, he went straight to the bookcase. He wanted to see, is there a book here that I don't know anything about? And he sat and he read, and he was read. He was very curious and very interested and always wanted to learn. That's a big takeaway from us. Not to be complacent and not to be satisfied where we are, but to be a mavakesh. Where we are is not necessarily where we want to be or where we should be. We could do more, we could learn more, we could know more. We could be a mavakesh in terms of ben adam lamakom. We could be a mavakesh in terms of ben adam lachavero, in terms of our Jewish knowledge, our worldly knowledge. Not to be complacent. That was something that was extremely important to him. Number three, huge yesod. And that is, you know something? The outside world matters. Now I'm going to say it again because we don't really internalize this. Because we live in a society, Baruch Hashem, we live in an Orthodox community, where, you know, we're busy doing what we're doing, and we could live ganz fine our whole lives within the confines of our community. We have enough work to do in our community. We have a day school, we have a shul, we have restaurants, we have a mikveh, we have a community. We're okay. And was geht on dorten, geht mir nicht an. What's going on out there? You know, I don't really have to get involved. Rabbi Sachs taught us that that is short-sighted, that the world outside matters. Rabbi Sachs told me that when he became chief rabbi of England, he made a very powerful, significant, and conscious decision. He said that Jews don't need a chief rabbi. The Jewish community in England, United Synagogue, doesn't really need a chief rabbi. So Baruch Hashem, every shul has a rabbi. Baruch Hashem, there's a Bezdin, there's a London Bezdin. You know who needs a chief rabbi? The Goyim need a chief rabbi. I'm going to be the chief rabbi for the Goyim. And that's what he devoted himself to. And he became a spokesman for Jewish values in the public marketplace. He became a spokesman for human values in the public marketplace. I'm not only talking about BBC. I'm talking about the Daily Mail. I'm talking about the Telegraph, the Times, the Evening Standard. He was out there speaking to the world and bringing the Jewish voice to the world. Now, we're not going to do that. The London Times is not going to publish my article. But what can we do to affect the world? Not just our own Daled Amos. I know we have a lot of work to do in our own Daled Amos. But the world matters. And what are we doing? Each one of us. So you're not a rabbi, and you're not a president, and you're not a prime minister. You're a Vaylayit, a wonderful Jew. What can each wonderful Jew do to the world at large? So do you have non-Jewish neighbors? Do you talk to them? Do you engage them? Do you model for them? Something. The world around us matters. Gone are the days where we could just be happy as individuals and as a community, just taking care of ourselves. And he was the master. Chaval al da'avdin. I don't know anyone else in the world who was able to do what he did and commanded the respect that he commanded across all barriers of the world in which we live. That's number 3. Number 4, discipline. He was very disciplined. You don't get to write 30 books and hundreds of articles and make hundreds of speeches when you're a batlin. When you're busy till you wake up in the morning, and then you have your coffee, and then you have to sharpen your pencil, and then you take a walk, and then you break for lunch. It's not going to happen. And I'm talking to everybody. I'm talking to myself. You're not going to write 30 books. I'm not going to write 30 books. Are we disciplined? Do we spend our time wisely? Do we take advantage of the time that we have? That's what he represented. Not just curiosity, but discipline. You sit down and you crank it out. I remember I would call to speak with him. And the secretary would say, Rabbi Sachs is not taking calls for the next month because he's writing a book. So I figured, that's unbelievable. First of all, just JJ, I'm his friend. Say, yeah, should take my call. For the next month, he's not taking calls. I once brought a group of students to England and I wanted to meet with him. I'm sorry, he's not available. He's writing a book. First of all, to write a book in a month, it's pretty impressive. But to sit on a chair for a month and focus, discipline. We ask ourselves, are we disciplined? And how much more could we accomplish? Whatever that accomplishment is, whatever it may be, if we're disciplined. Number 5, a Baal Chesed. The world doesn't know the Chesed of Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. I'll just tell you my most recent story. So I have a friend who was Nebuch dying of cancer, serious. And he was an aficionado of Jonathan Sachs. He would read him and he in fact, he even called him Jonathan. When I would talk to him and call him and ask him how he was doing, I read Jonathan. His kids decided that somehow if Rabbi Sachs could give him a call to give him chizuk, that would really mean a lot. So they reached out to me because they knew I had a relationship with him. And I said, let me see what I could do. I reached out to Joanna Ben Arosh, who was his chief of staff, and I told her the story. She said, let me see what I could do. At 2:00 in the afternoon, she emails the family, Rabbi Sachs will be calling you within the hour. And Rabbi Sachs called this guy, this simple, sweet, wonderful, extraordinary pearl of a human being who was dying of cancer. And he spoke to him for 15 minutes, and the call got dropped twice. And each time Rabbi Sachs made the call again, he recalled. And he gave him so much chizuk. And that meant the world to him. And it was just unbelievable because that was the last conversation that he had until he slipped into a serious illness and he passed away. Why did Rabbi Sachs call this person? What, did Prince Charles know he was calling this person? Did the Archbishop of Canterbury know he was calling this person? Who knew he was calling this person? He knew who he was, and he knew that if he would put a call into this person, it would be a chesed ein l'shayir, unbelievable. The last point I want to make is Rabbi Sachs is a father. Rabbi Sachs is a father. So here I'm speaking more to community leaders, but it's not mukhrach, it's relevant to all of us. So the Eibishter should be good to us and we should have children. Mirz Hashem, we should be zeicha that we should have children. And you know what? That's great. And you know what? We're busy. We're very busy. We are like super busy. We have to make a parnasa. We're running around. We have to relax. If we're a Jewish communal leader, we have to take care of the Jewish world. We've got students. We've got balabatim. You know, we got a world to save. And they should help from, you know, Baruch Hashem, the wife will take care of the kids. You know, the principal of the school, the teacher. It's going to be okay. And whatever we are, we slaughter our children on the altar of the Jewish community. We slaughter our children on the altar of the Jewish community. Because we have to run to minyan, we have business, we have meetings, we have shiurim, we got stuff with our machat malachim, but the feast, the world depends on us, our shul, our school. The Rambam says, how many people did Avram have an influence on? How many are there? When he turned around, when he left, 2 weeks ago, how many people could he see the end of the line? The Rambam says, the beginning of Hilchos Avodah Zarah. Alafim u'revavos, thousands and tens of thousands. Where did they go? What happened to them? Where are they? Vayera Chayesara told us, Vayetze, Vayishlach, Vayeshev, Mika. Where'd they go? What's the nitzchias of Avram? Ki beyitzchak yikareh lechazar. It was his children. It was his child. Avram Avinu, Avhamon Goyim. The end of the day, he lays down. Ki beyitzchak yikareh lechazar. I think it was Ilan earlier, or maybe it was Rabbi Grau, I don't remember, who referenced Gila's hesped for her father. You must watch Gila's hesped for her father. You must watch when Rabbi Sachs won the Templeton Prize a couple of years ago. You go Google Jonathan Sachs Templeton Prize. There was a surprise guest. Gila gets up for 6 minutes and talks about what her father meant to her. I would imagine Rabbi Sachs was busy. I imagine Rabbi Sachs had what to do. Rabbi Sachs had to call somebody 6 hours before he went into a coma because he wanted to do a chesed. He had what to do. He didn't slaughter his children on the altar of all of his accomplishments. I beg you, mother, father, don't slaughter your children. If Rabbi Sachs can raise children who speak with such love and affection and warmth about their dad, we could take a musar from that. What are our children going to say about us? What are our grandchildren going to say about us? We should learn from his example. And this is the way I thought I could best try to carry forward the lessons that we learned from him. Number one, a person can make a real difference. Every person, each one of us, can really make a difference by Asher Heim Sham. Number two, to be a Mavakesh. Don't stop where you are. Number three, the world matters. The world really matters. The outside world, the Gentile world, the non-Jewish world matters to us as Jews big time in 2020, 2021. Number four, discipline. You want to accomplish something, be disciplined. Don't fritter away time. Number five, be a Baal Chesed. Be a Baal Chesed. The Rambam calls it Chesed Shebeguf. Not writing out a check, but a Chesed Shebeguf. And number six, be a good parent. Be a good parent. We remember him. We miss him. I'm still totally flummoxed by his passing. I can't even begin to be in a position to assess what it is that he accomplished, bigadol. But I thought if we could bring him to us in ways that would be meaningful, that would be a contribution this evening. I'm sorry I don't know his father's name. Maybe one of you do know his father's name. His mother's name was Liba. We were saying Tehillim for him. Yaakov Yitzchak, Harav Yaakov Yitzchak ben Liba.
David Aryeh, ben David Aryeh.
Ben David Aryeh, thank you, Rabbi Strachler. Harav Yaakov Yitzchak ben David Aryeh Valiba. Tehei nishmaso tzura b'tzurarachai.